let's continue looking at this idea of slopes and lines and average rate of change. So here's just 2 plain points. In this example 3, not even a word problem. And it asks you just to find the slope of the line using those points. So this is just using our regular old slope formula from back in high school. I'll copy it over. It was from that last page for there. So why don't you pause the video and see if you can calculate the correct slope. This one's going to come out to kind of a nasty decimal, so I would just leave it in fraction form. It doesn't say anything about rounding, so I would definitely just leave it as its fraction. So go ahead and hit pause. All right, hopefully you're back with me and you've given this a shot. I'm going to plug in my points into that equation. So I'm going to have negative 4 minus 9 over 11. Be careful of that negative, minus negative 5. I always think it's best to put negatives in parentheses like that negative 5. You could put the negative 4 in parentheses if that would help you as well. That's going to give me negative 13 over 16. 11 minus negative 5 is 11 plus 5. And you could just type in the numerator, type in the denominator, and get that nice fraction there. And that's it. That's all we were asked to do in that example. All right, now we're going to talk about in context of the entire equation of a line. So that's what we've got down here. The equation of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So that's what we're going to kind of spend the rest of this section looking at. So for example 4, the first part of this asks us to rewrite in slope-intercept form. And that's really just a math fancy directions for saying solve for y. So we want to solve this equation for y. We want to get y by itself. So let me just copy the equation over first. I'm going to try to get y by itself. So I'm going to move the x over. I don't care which one you put first, the negative 2x or the 6. You could have 6 minus 2x if that would make more sense to you. I'm going to divide by negative 3. And I need to divide both of these by negative 3. Everything is divided by negative 3. So I'm going to end up with y equals 2/3 x minus 2 as rewriting that in slope-intercept form. You could have negative 2 plus 2/3 x as well. I don't care the order that they're in. Part B asks to identify the slope. The slope is just a number, no letters with it. So the slope is just 2/3. It is the number that is touching x. It's mx plus b up here. So the slope is just m, so don't include the x there. The y-intercept is the point on the graph that touches the y-axis. It's a lot of times where we start if we're actually going to graph a line. So it is a point, so I'm going to write it as an ordered pair. And it's on the y-axis, so that means the x is 0 and the y-intercept is negative 2. It is the b up here, so it's the negative 2. So that y-intercept is that entire point, like that, 0, negative 2. All right, so let's keep this idea of y equals mx plus b on the next page. So I've given us 2 points, and I don't just want the slope, I want the entire equation of the line. So this takes 2 parts. I have to find m and I have to find b, and we need to find m first. So that's what you guys practiced back on the other page, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm just going to plug that in. Negative 2 minus 4 over negative 10 minus 5. It's going to give me negative 6 over negative 15. I'm going to reduce that down in my calculator, and that's going to give me 2/5. We always want to write our slope as most reduced fraction. And this is a nice decimal, so you also could write it as 0.4. You really could do either one because 2/5 comes out directly to 0.4. It doesn't have any awful repeating, so either one of those would be fine. Now I'm going to solve for b. This is the part that gets people. After they get the slope, they get kind of confused, and they're not sure what the next step is. The next step is to solve for b. We know m, and you're going to pick either point. I'm just going to pick the ones that doesn't have the negatives. You really could choose either one though. And I'm going to plug into y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to plug in y, m, I'll just use the decimal. You can use the fraction, it really doesn't matter. X is 5, and I'm solving for b. 0.4 times 5 is 2. I'm solving for b. So b is 2. Now I know m, now I know b, so I can have y equals mx plus b.